I'm thinking it's a vent.
Give me a call.
I'm assuming it's a vent.
And the interior is clear. A couple of lights over the gun gate. Lincoln 3, GS 10 San Francisco. GS 10 San Francisco. GS 10 San Francisco.
Dead. And they're going to bring them into the back of that. And they're all set up over there with a straight shot if you want to move. Who's probably in the station? She was like smiling and laughing. I don't know. I think there's just two. Who's this now? Is this the chief coming in?
Terry McManus, Terry McManus. I'm a captain with the San Diego Police Department assigned to investigations.
Captain, take us through what occurred here tonight.
Okay, yesterday evening, just after 11 o'clock p.m., officers assigned to the Central Patrol Division were driving at eastbound at 1400 National, and they were behind a white van that they recognized as a potential van related to a robbery investigation of ours, and pulled over. And the male driver of that van immediately exited his vehicle armed with what we believe is a rifle. We have not confirmed that at this point. He immediately exited his vehicle and started firing rounds in the officer's direction. We're early in the investigation. We don't know exactly how many rounds the suspect fired, but we do know that the suspect, armed with what we believe is a rifle, fired rounds towards the officers. Officers returned fire directed at the suspect, attempted to give some verbal commands after the exchange of gunfire. At about that same time, a female exited from the passenger side of that same white van. The officers, drawing their attention to her and maintaining their attention on the suspect that fired upon them, directed the female to remain outside the van. At about that same point, that same time, they saw that the male suspect, armed with a rifle, was slowly walking eastbound away from the van. After walking a short distance away from the van, that suspect collapsed. Officers believe that he was struck by gunfire. They didn't know for sure. So they held him from a distance in his position where he collapsed while they gave direct and verbal commands to the female passenger, brought her back to them, and took her into custody. At that point, they continued with their verbal commands towards the suspect that shot at them, and were not successful with their verbal commands. He was still, as I mentioned, collapsed in front of his van, a distance in front of his van. They called for additional units, some of our SWAT officers as well as our K-9 resources. And eventually they directed a K-9 towards the suspect, the male suspect, at the front of the van. And again, got no response from that shooting suspect. They tactically approached the location of the suspect. And again, the female at this point is in custody. They approached his location where he collapsed, brought the medic units in with them, and confirmed that he was in fact deceased as a result of the gunfire. At this point in our investigation, it's still very early. Our homicide unit will do the investigation because it's an officer-involved shooting. We have a good amount of evidence at the scene that we'll need to photograph and collect. We have officers involved as well as witness officers we will need to speak to. 3 officers were involved in the shooting. We will provide their names at a later date. We will have a chance to speak with them sometime this morning, perhaps not until late in the morning. Not until that point will I have specific information with regard to the van. The van and its what we believe might be a relationship to other investigations that we're pursuing. As of right now, our main focus is to conduct the very methodical investigation as it relates to the officer-involved shooting. So you asked a question earlier, were any officers injured? They were not, and that's great news for us. The female passenger was not injured either. We will have a chance, hopefully, to speak with her later in the morning. And that's where we are right now with regard to the officer-involved shooting portion of the investigation.
Can you confirm what everybody kind of knows, that this van that's being investigated is related to the robbery incident with your officer being shot at the ATM?
I can't
Without positively linking it, that's what...
I'm going to answer your question, which was, can I confirm if this van was related to the robbery investigation yesterday, and specifically the investigation in Escondido. The van, the officer who located the van at 1400 National recognized that van as a potential felony van related to our robbery investigation and the series of robberies that occurred yesterday. Whether or not that van is related to the incident in Escondido or all of the incidents from yesterday, we can't say for sure because we have not completed that portion of the investigation. And it would be careless of me to suggest this morning or state this morning whether or not I know for sure if it's involved. I do know for sure that the officers were provided information, a description of a white van that perhaps was involved, and they in fact found a white van today at 1400 National, and the driver of that white van fired upon them as he just after he turned eastbound on Harbor off of Cesar Chavez Parkway. And so that's how I'll clarify that question.
Might have been involved in the robberies, the Oak Park, College Grove one, and the Mission Valley one. The white van might have been involved in those two, or white van might have been involved with the Escondido.
We provided a description of a white van that was potentially involved in the robbery investigation that we are pursuing that occurred yesterday. What other questions do you have?
What other weapons may be found in the van? I mean, I know you guys haven't fully processed the van, but you had to look in there to see if anybody else was in there. So are you expecting to see more interesting items inside the van?
Well, we're going to do a thorough search of the van, of course, and collect all the evidence that we find in the van. Weapons located this evening as a result of the officer-involved shooting, in addition to the weapon that the suspect armed himself with, which, again, this is a repeat that we believe that is a rifle.
And also, were they wearing body armor? Is my understanding that she was?
I can't confirm whether or not she was wearing body armor, simply because we have not processed her. We'll process her completely, which includes a description and documentation of her clothing. I do not know for sure whether or not either of them were wearing ballistic armor.
And approximate
perhaps
age
were.
of either one or both? Description of either one or
They're
both?
both adults. She's a Hispanic female. Don't know her age. She's a young adult. And the driver is I don't know. He's a male. I did not get his. Go ahead, Lieutenant Herbert. Early 40s, perhaps 40 years old, and I believe that he's a Hispanic male.
Okay. And how long will this scene continue? And I guess will this intersection be closed throughout the morning?
It's going to be closed for quite some time. As we get later into the morning, we'll make a determination as to whether or not we need to provide, through yourselves, the media, information related to a SIG alert if, in fact, this busy intersection is going to be shut down for too much longer. But it'll be at least another 3 hours.
Were any of the officers' vehicles hit by gunfire?
We don't know for sure. There are several officers involved, which means several vehicles involved in close proximity to where the van pulled over. There was an exchange of gunfire, multiple rounds fired by the suspect. We will determine tonight whether or not any of the patrol vehicles were struck.
But it wasn't obvious, like a smashed windshield or something?
It's not obvious to me right now.
Okay.
I have not walked through the scene.
Okay. Anything else that we're missing?
No, not at all.